Millionaire laughed at her, but when she spoke Chinese, an incredible truth was revealed. Emma stood behind the counter of the diner, the hum of idle conversation barely audible above the clatter of plates. A steaming cup of coffee rested in front of Mr. Thompson, the local millionaire whose presence exuded disdain for anyone he deemed beneath him. His voice cut through the noise, thick with laughter. "You really think you can compete with the fancy chefs in this town?" The derision in his tone sent a surge of heat to Emma's cheeks. She forced herself to smile, but inside, doubt twisted like a knife. Could she actually create the restaurant she'd always dreamed of, one that honored her roots and her grandmother's teachings? Days piled upon days of tirelessly scrubbing countertops and pouring coffee played on repeat in her mind. After years of sacrificing everything for her son Tyler, the weight of ambition and self-doubt battled fiercely within her. What if she failed? Would opening a restaurant just be another failed dream like so many others? As she wiped the counter with a rag, her throat tightened with the fear of inadequacy. She glanced at the door, the light outside casting a warm glow over the bundled patrons, and her heart sank. Would they even notice if she disappeared into obscurity? Before she could linger too long in despair, a jovial table of Chinese tourists caught her attention. With their laughter and chatter, they seemed to transport her back to childhood dinners full of vibrant flavors, colors and aromas that conveyed her grandmother's history. The Mandarin lessons she resented as a child flashed through her mind. Each word, painstakingly memorized, represented a path she'd nearly forgotten. Could she speak to them? "Excuse me," she whispered, her heart racing. They turned, flashing bright smiles that empowered her. The shock on their faces brought her overwhelming joy and profound insecurity all at once. Their laughter fueled her spirit, igniting something buried deep within. Emma began to piece together the menu she had concocted in her mental cookbook: pulled pork dumplings, cornbread, and Thai chili wings. It all suddenly felt so real, like a vision brought to life under the fluorescent lights of the diner. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But the path ahead remained daunting. The financial hurdles loomed over her, a nightmarish reminder of the rent due and the looming reality that nothing came easy. And then there was Mr. Thompson, his gloating gaze, his smirk that said 1,000 things without uttering a word. She imagined him seated in her restaurant, probably smirking as he took the first bite, waiting for the glimmer of failure she was terrified he would savor. The contrast between her dreams and harsh realities gnawed at her, creating ripples of self-doubt. In that moment, she steeled herself against despair. She would rise above his mockery, transform it into fuel for her ambition. Emma could see the vibrant, bustling restaurant in her mind, the laughter, the love, the connection to her culture intertwined with all she had learned. But what would it take to dismantle the barriers that loomed like shadows, threatening her every dream? Tyler's eyes looked up at her, full of innocence and unwavering belief. Could she do this? Was she enough? As she glanced up at her first customer of the morning, anticipation crackled in the air, and one thing became undeniably clear: Emma's journey was just beginning, and the truth within her would either be revealed or crushed beneath the weight of others' expectations. Emma wiped her hands on her apron, trying to push the chaotic thoughts to the back of her mind. Determination had surged within her, a pulsing reminder that she had more to offer than the scoffs of a millionaire. The energy from the bustling diner now felt like a weight lifting, a moment of clarity illuminating the steps she needed to take. Her mind raced with possibilities as she glanced back at the table of tourists, who continued enjoying their unexpected connection with her. The laughter and kindness they'd exchanged hadn't just been a fleeting moment, they were an awakening. Each played a canvas for her culinary narrative, but she had to start painting it first. Emma grabbed a notepad and began sketching out ideas for her restaurant. The dreams of family recipes intertwined with modern twists emerged effortlessly, and her hands moved rapidly across the pages. The broth for her dumplings should simmer long, cultivating flavors that echoed familiarity. The smoky heat of the Thai chili wings would be her signal that she was taking risks, something she needed to embrace. Could this amalgamation of flavors engage the hearts of the patrons, just as her grandmother had engaged hers? The ringing of the diner's bell tore her from her reverie. "Order up," a voice called out, pulling Emma back into the present. She served the food almost mechanically, her mind still entangled in visions of her future. Could she channel her love into the dishes she created? A burgeoning excitement coursed through her, overshadowing her previous fears. As the day wore on and the sun settled beyond the horizon, bringing about the diner's evening rush, thoughts of Mr. Thompson crept back in. What if he came back? What if he had the audacity to criticize her, to scoff at her creations? The very thought made her palms sweat. But rather than crumbling under pressure, she scolded herself. He was just one voice among many yet to discover her culinary vision. "Focus, Emma," she muttered under her breath, catching the eye of a familiar patron. Mrs. Hargrove, an elderly woman with a deep appreciation for home-cooked meals, smiled as she took her usual seat. Her presence brought a sense of calm. After serving her food, Emma decided it was time to seek advice. "Mrs. Hargrove, can I ask your opinion?" Emma leaned closer, her heart racing as she ventured into new territory. "If I wanted to start my own restaurant, what do you think I should focus on?" The woman's eyes twinkled with warmth. "Child, it starts with passion. Don't be afraid of what the world thinks. Pour your heart into each dish. Remember, you're feeding souls as much as you are filling stomachs." Emma nodded, absorbing each word as validation of her vision. Her grandmother had always emphasized the importance of storytelling through food. The failures, the struggles, would only add depth to her journey. Each dish would be a testament to her courage and persistence, a blend of love and artistry. The realization that her restaurant could embody her history turned the anxiety that had gripped her heart into a burgeoning thrill. She was ready to confront her fears. Tomorrow, she would return to the kitchen with renewed vigor, challenge herself to create a dish worthy of her dreams. And yet, shadows of doubt still loomed. What if it wasn't enough? What if her dreams remained just that, dreams? As the last customer of the night departed, a resolve formed in Emma's chest. The moment of truth was approaching, and she knew she could no longer hold back. With new purpose, she planned for the following day, the idea of her first trial run weighing heavily on her mind. One strong thought emerged, propelling her forward: she needed to face Mr. Thompson, to reveal her newfound strength and passion. Tomorrow would bring challenges, and whether she fell or soared depended entirely on her willingness to stand up to her fears. The simmering potential of greatness awaited her, and now, all she needed was the courage to take that first daring step. Would this finally be the moment she confronted her destiny head-on? The morning sun cast streaks of light through the diner's large windows, illuminating the stainless steel counters and freshly polished tables. Emma stood behind the kitchen line, feeling the familiar heat of the grill radiate against her skin. However, today was different. Today, she felt a charged sense of purpose electrifying her movements. She meticulously arranged her ingredients on the prep station, each one a piece of a puzzle she was determined to solve. Her grandmother's handwritten recipes served as both a guide and a muse, whispering to her from the worn pages. The wave of nostalgia washed over her, but it brought with it a surge of inspiration rather than hesitation. Emma breathed deeply, drawing from that well of passion and strength as she began to methodically chop herbs, the fierce rhythm of the knife echoing the beating of her heart. With every ingredient she selected, her boldness grew. The fresh cilantro she tossed into the mix was a nod to her roots, while the avant-garde drizzle of chili oil signaled her willingness to fuse tradition with innovation. Would this concoction sing to Mr. Thompson's palate, or would he dismiss it as mere folly? A flash of doubt pricked her confidence, but she quickly circled back to Mrs. Hargrove's words, anchoring her resolve. "Feeding souls," she murmured, letting the mantra settle into her bones. As the clock ticked down towards the lunchtime rush, Emma could feel the weight of anticipation bearing down on her. She reveled in the chaos around her, the clattering of plates, the sizzle of pans, the laughter of patrons drifting through the air. It was a symphony she had longed to be a part of, and she was ready to conduct her own crescendo. Just then, the bell rang again, announcing the arrival of a new customer. Emma turned and locked eyes with none other than Mr. Thompson. His sharp suit clashed with the diner's casual atmosphere, and for a moment, she felt a jolt of fear coursing through her. The very person whose disdain had fueled her determination now stood before her, a looming judge in the court of her aspirations. She steeled herself and approached with newfound resolve. "Mr. Thompson," she greeted him, summoning every ounce of confidence she could muster. "Would you care to experience something unique today?" He regarded her with skeptical eyes, chuckling slightly as if he anticipated yet another failure. "Unique how?" he challenged, arms crossed as he leaned back into his chair, an obvious smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. Emma took a breath and decided to lay out her vision. "I'm testing a dish that marries traditional family recipes with modern influences. With your permission, I'd like for you to be the first to taste my creation." The audacity of her own words surprised her, but she pushed the impulse of doubt aside. His eyebrows shot up, a flicker of curiosity shadowing his previous arrogance. "All right, surprise me," he said, a hint of amusement laced with intrigue. As she prepared the dish, each action felt like an invocation of her dreams. The fragrant herbs mingled in the air, and the searing of meat produced sounds that now seemed to echo her heartbeat. This was her moment. When she delivered the dish, her grandmother's dumplings fused with the zest of Thai elements. Emma felt the energy shift. She had taken a bold step into her future, countering the shadow of self-doubt with an explosion of flavor and creativity. His fork hesitated above the plate, and for a beat, the world around them faded. Emma watched as he took the first bite, the anticipation pinning her to the spot. What would he reveal, approval or ridicule? The second stretched, dripping with tension. Suddenly, Mr. Thompson's expression transformed. Everything hinged on what he would say next. Emma waited, her heart racing, teetering on the precipice of success or failure. Would this moment catalyze her transformation into the chef she longed to be, or crush her dreams before they had a chance to lift off? Emma held her breath as Mr. Thompson chewed thoughtfully, his brow furrowing deeper with each passing second. The clattering of dishes faded into a distant hum, all she could focus on was his expression. Had she crossed a line with her culinary exploration, or had she ushered in a moment of revelation? "Interesting," he finally said, his voice low, as if weighing his words carefully. "This blend, at first I didn't believe it could work. Dumplings with chili oil. It felt like a stretch." He paused, his fork hovering over the plate again. "But it somehow does. I can taste the heart in it. It's challenging, yet comforting." Emma's heart soared. It wasn't just approval, it was an acknowledgement of her vision, an invitation to push forward. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. It's a combination of my family's traditions and the influence of flavors that excite me." She felt a newfound confidence surging, turning her focus inward as her mind raced ahead. Was this the step she needed to take in redefining not only her cooking but also her identity as a chef? Mr. Thompson leaned back in his chair, his expression shifting to one of calculated intrigue. "You know, Emma, I've seen a lot of talent in my time, but talent without direction is just noise. Are you thinking of expanding your horizons beyond this diner?" The question struck her hard. Did she want more? She could see the walls of the diner, which had felt like her sanctuary for so long, suddenly as both a sanctuary and a cage. What would it mean to step beyond its fluorescent lights and familiar faces into a world that could be so much bigger? Emma hesitated. The very thought of moving forward felt exhilarating and terrifying all at once. It was a dilemma formed from her desire for growth against a deep-seated fear of failure. "I think about it daily," she admitted. "But where would I even start?" Mr. Thompson studied her closely, almost as if seeing her for the first time. You have to start with what you know and build from there. What about that taste you just created? Imagine honing it into something that could stand on its own. Something that could challenge the very norms people cling to. His words hung in the air, permeating her thoughts. Could she develop a personal brand that melded her heritage with her culinary creativity? A restaurant that reflected not just a menu but a story fueled by her experiences, every struggle woven into every dish. Then, he continued, dismissing her contemplative silence, you craft a plan. Write your vision down. Take it seriously. Chart your course. The clarity in his voice ignited a dormant flame within her. The fear of sharing her dreams was dissipating and replaced with an ember of excitement. Maybe she could be more than just Emma, the diner-esque cook. Maybe she could be Emma, the chef with a vision. As lunch service resumed around them, Emma's mind buzzed with possibilities. She promised herself she wouldn't let this moment pass into mere nostalgia, she would fuel it. She needed to take actionable steps while this fire still blazed within her. Will you help me? She asked, vulnerability creeping into her voice. Will you guide me? Mr. Thompson raised an eyebrow, congenial amusement dancing in his eyes. That depends. Are you ready to be challenged beyond the very confines of this diner? Her throat tightened, but she nodded, resolute. I am. Good. Then let us see what you're really made of. Prepare for a reality check. His words were the spark, igniting a transformative journey within her. She could feel that she was at the beginning of something monumental. As they discussed the first steps, Emma's appetite for challenge was irrevocably awakening. Curiosity burned in her chest. Where would this newfound venture lead her? And how far would she be willing to go to discover the true depths of her culinary talent? Just as the discussion deepened, the door swung open with a loud creak, and Emma turned, sensing the thrilling oncoming change. She had a sense that someone important had just entered the diner, but who, or what, would completely change her. Trajectory again. Emma's heart raced as she turned to face the newcomer, her mind swirling with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. The soft jangle of the diner-esque doorbell seemed to announce not just a customer but a shift in her path. The figure that stepped inside was tall, dressed in an impeccably tailored suit, with an air of authority that suggested he was accustomed to being in charge. She glanced at Mr. Thompson, whose expression shifted from focused mentor to observant strategist. He subtly nodded, as if to say, pay attention. Emma's thoughts flashed, questioning who this man was and what he could possibly want in a cozy diner known more for its regular clientele than for extravagant dining experiences. The stranger approached the counter, his eyes scanning the room with an unyielding confidence. "What's the best dish here?" he asked, a hint of curiosity laced with casual arrogance. Emma, momentarily caught off guard, gathered her thoughts. This was her chance. "The chili oil dumplings," she replied, her voice steady despite the flutter in her stomach. "They blend tradition and bold flavors." It was a bold move, a chance to showcase her recent triumph, and she felt an electric pulse of courage as she spoke. The man raised an eyebrow, intrigued but skeptical. "Dumplings? Hardly a statement dish, wouldn't you agree? I'm looking for something that really stands out." His words could have sliced through her newfound confidence like a knife, yet instead, they fueled her determination to show him the heart behind her dish. "What if I made you a special version?" Emma suggested, her voice firm yet inviting. Mr. Thompson leaned forward, a glimmer of interest igniting in his eyes. The stranger's interest piqued, and he smirked, clearly intrigued by her audacity. "All right then, show me what you've got." Emma turned her back on the pair and moved to the kitchen, where the comforting rhythm of her sanctuary awaited her. As she chopped, blended, and stirred, the chaotic blend of her emotions filtered into the ingredients. She closed her eyes for a moment, envisioning not just the dish but the story she wanted to tell, the culmination of her heritage, her dreams, her fears, all wrapped in that delicate dough. As she worked, Emma noticed a growing presence behind her. Mr. Thompson stood observing, arms crossed, a faint hint of a smile on his face. He didn't interrupt, but she could feel his support surrounding her. This was not just another dish, it was her declaration, her burnished armor against self-doubt. When the plate was complete, she dressed it artfully, a small mountain of glistening dumplings nestled next to a drizzle of her spiced sauce, garnished with a touch of fresh cilantro. This wasn't just food, it was the embodiment of her voice. She returned to the counter, placing the dish before the man. His face shifted from skeptic to surprised appreciation, and Emma felt a thrill at catching his eye. "Take a bite," she urged, watching his every reaction as he tasted. His initial skepticism faded like a distant memory. The moment he savored the dish, the lines of his face softened. "This," he began, his voice trailing off, swallowed by the richness of the flavors. Suddenly, the kitchen door swung open again, this time revealing a petite woman with bright eyes and an infectious smile. Emma recognized her instantly. It was May, her mentor from culinary school, who had always encouraged her to think outside the box. May's entrance felt like fate, the charm and energy she brought created a palpable shift in the air. "What's all the excitement?" May inquired, her glance bouncing between Emma and the newcomer. Before Emma could respond, the suited man, now fully engaged, broke in. "Whatever this is, I need to know more about her." The intensity behind his gaze shifted, seeming to weigh the potential of Emma beyond just this moment. An exhilarating sense of possibility washed over Emma. This was no longer just about the diner, it was about claiming her place in the culinary world, to be seen for more than just her role. But what implications would this new venture hold? And was she ready for the challenges that lay ahead? As May beamed with pride and the man, now clearly impressed, scribbled notes on a notepad, Emma felt an urgent question bloom in her heart: was she ready to face whatever came next? The throbbing anticipation in her chest hinted that the real challenge was only just beginning. Emma's thoughts collided in a whirlwind of excitement and anxiety as she absorbed the implications of the suited man's words. "Whatever this is, I need to know more about her." What did that mean for her? Was she ready to be thrust into the spotlight, beyond the protective cocoon of the diner she'd always known? With May at her side, a surge of confidence sparked within. Emma had long admired May's ability to command attention and respect, her presence electric and invigorating. "I didn't know you were coming, May," Emma exclaimed, her voice rising above the clatter of dishes and murmurs of patrons. "I couldn't miss an opportunity to watch you shine," May replied, her smile unwavering. "You've always had the talent, sometimes it just needs a little push." As Emma turned back to the man, she was reminded of the many moments of self-doubt she'd faced in the kitchen. She had always battled the feeling that she wouldn't measure up, that her culinary voice would get lost in the cacophony of the industry. But now, with the opportunity presented to her, the stakes had risen. "What's your name?" she asked, her tone steady, albeit laced with curiosity. "Derek Haynes," he replied, his expression shifting from one of skepticism to genuine interest. "I'm an executive chef for a culinary group looking for fresh concepts and talent. Your dish intrigues me. It's humble yet innovative at the same time." Emma could feel heat rising in her cheeks. She had spent years honing her craft, experimenting and pushing beyond her comfort zone. To hear that her culinary creations were worthy of attention ignited something deep inside her, ambition intertwined with fear. "Why do you think I need fresh talent?" Emma challenged lightly. "A diner's food is practical, not pretentious. Do you not think there's worth to that?" He smiled, appreciating her spirit. "Practical food connects with people. But it also needs to evolve. Something as simple as dumplings can tell a story and push boundaries if you let it." His words sank in. They felt like the keys to a door she hadn't known existed. "What if I could do more with it?" Emma found herself asking, the words spilling out before she could second-guess herself. "What if I reinvented traditional dishes to reflect both heritage and contemporary tastes?" "Now we're talking," Derek said, his eyes lighting up. "That's the kind of passion I'm looking for." Emma inhaled deeply, contemplating the journey ahead. This wasn't just about showcasing her culinary skills, it was a potential leap into a career that she had only dared to dream about. Suddenly, she felt the familiar pang of apprehension. Could she navigate the pressures of a competitive industry? Would the voices of self-doubt rise to stifle her creativity? Are you familiar with modern gastronomy? Derek probed, pulling her from her reverie. Because that's what this would require, combining flavors in innovative ways while staying true to their roots. It demands finesse. Emma's heart raced at the idea. She had always appreciated gastronomic experimentation in theory, but taking that leap personally felt different. I've played with flavors in new ways, but that's been in my own small, controlled environment. And that's where you'll grow, he replied, his tone earnest. The world is your audience. You just need someone to believe in you, and it seems you already have that, he added, gesturing to May. Emma looked at May, whose eyes sparkled with encouragement. Despite the chaos of her thoughts, clarity began to emerge. This was about growth, not just professionally but personally. Could she stretch beyond her boundaries and embrace the unknown? Take this opportunity, May urged gently, but on your own terms. Define what success looks like for you. The notion sparked within her a sense of accountability and awakening of intention. And what are those terms? Emma asked, determination threading through her words. Only you can tell me, Derek replied, his voice firm. But whatever they are, remember, authenticity is key. Emma nodded, her thoughts swirling with infinite possibilities. Facing the prospect of reinvention filled her with anticipation. She realized that this was more than a chance to showcase her skills. It was about discovering who she could become in a world that felt vast yet terrifyingly close. The conversation shifted as Derek began discussing specific projects he had in mind, but Emma's mind was elsewhere. She felt a swell of ambition knitting together her hopes, dreams, and fears. Was she truly prepared to step into the unknown? As her thoughts solidified into a tender resolve, she caught a glimpse of what could be a future where her culinary dreams intertwined with her identity. Suddenly, her eyes widened as a thought struck her like lightning. How much further could she push the boundaries of her concepts? The thrill of the challenge filled the air, promising that this journey was only beginning. And yet, a new question flickered in her mind, igniting a seed of doubt. What monumental choices lay ahead, and would they ultimately shatter or shape her newfound identity? Emma's heart pounded as Derek shared more about his culinary group. Each word evoked visions of kitchens buzzing with creativity, where she could immerse herself in flavors and concepts that pushed past her diner's modest menu. Yet, a weight settled in her chest. The pressure of potential failure pressed against her burgeoning dreams. Think bold, Derek encouraged. You have a unique perspective. Your multicultural background gives you a rare edge. Don't be afraid to use it. Emma thought back to her childhood, where her family's diverse traditions surrounded her. Her grandmother's recipes had their roots in Chinese flavors, while her mother had infused them with local American ingredients. But could she merge those worlds convincingly? Were her past experiences enough to stand tall in the competitive culinary landscape? What inspired you to pursue this path? Derek asked, sensing her hesitation. Emma inhaled deeply, letting the question wash over her. Honestly, it was growing up in the diner. I saw the impact comfort food had on people. But I craved more creativity, more expression. She bit her lip, gauging Derek's reaction. Exactly, he replied, nodding. Food is an art form. You can express your identity and storytelling through each dish. But as you venture out of your comfort zone, you also need to fortify your foundation. Foundation. The word echoed in her mind. Before she could dive into the unknown, she had to solidify her culinary techniques. What would that look like? Emma questioned, a newfound curiosity edging her voice. It's about practice and experimentation, but also dedicating time to hone your individual style. I suggest immersing yourself in modern gastronomy while keeping your roots intact. You need to find that balance, Derek advised. A spark glimmered. Emma envisioned herself learning, experimenting, comparing the old with the new until she could form something uniquely hers, a testament to her journey in this vast culinary world. But apprehension nagged. Could she truly reinvent herself while respecting her heritage? Is there a risk in being too experimental? She probed, feeling cautious as self-doubt seeped in yet again. Everything worth pursuing has risk. However, if you don't embrace it, you'll never discover the full extent of what you're capable of. Derek leaned forward, his eyes sharp. The fear of losing yourself can stifle your growth, don't let it. Emma's thoughts spiraled. She envisioned the dishes she could create, what they would mean to those who tasted them, connecting them to her journey. Her heart fluttered at the thought. I want to push boundaries while highlighting my background. That's what authenticity means to me. Then do it, May urged, gripping her hand. Encouraged, Emma felt a rush of excitement, tempered by the weight of decision-making. Yet, in that moment, determination eclipsed her fear. She could start now. Twin culinary worlds needed a bridge, and she had the vision to create it. I'm ready. I'll define success on my own terms. Derek's smile widened, clearly impressed. That's the spirit. Take the plunge, and you may surprise yourself. With renewed focus, Emma needed more than encouragement, she needed a plan. As discussions continued, fragments of her ideas formed a rough outline. But lingering doubts crossed her mind. Were her culinary skills refined enough to translate her grand vision into reality? The cafe's warm ambience blended with the energy of new possibilities. She envisioned herself standing before a crowd, vibrant dishes on display that narrated her deeply woven cultural story. Yet, moments later, the nagging uncertainty clawed at her resolve. What if her ideas weren't met with appreciation? What if she stumbled in front of a discerning audience? Are you going to let fear drive your decisions? Derek's voice interrupted her reverie. No, she asserted firmly, but the doubt still loomed above her like a shadow. Emma recognized she had a choice to confront it head-on or shrink back into familiarity. With every passing second, she felt herself teetering on the precipice of growth. An internal battle raged around her authenticity and vulnerability, the heart of creativity. As the conversation wrapped up, Derek pressed one last challenge. I hope you understand, the journey ahead is not linear. It requires resilience and constant adaptation. Do you think you're prepared? Emma's heart raced. She realized that with the opportunity looming ahead, she had to answer that question for herself. Would she choose to face her fears head-on? As she gathered her thoughts, a weight settled, a desire to confront the forks in her journey. And thus, the choice loomed over her, demanding clarity. There was no going back. Would her ambition and authenticity rise above the fears threatening to drag her down? Or would she allow self-doubt to silence her voice in a world waiting for her to speak? With uncertainty wrapping around her like a cloak, she knew she had to find strength in that moment. She would define her path to success, but first, she needed to overcome the biggest obstacle, the fear residing within herself. What awaited her on the other side of that moment could shift everything. Emma stood in a cafe, the clinking of cups and low murmur of conversations fading into a distant hum. The energy from Derek and May still thrummed in her veins, yet the reality of what lay ahead felt daunting. The clarity she had felt moments ago began to wane, as a new wave of doubt surged through her. She couldn't shake the image of herself cooking in front of a crowd, her heart racing, judgment lurking everywhere. With every passing day, her culinary passion deepened, fueled by the stories of her heritage. Emma wanted to create a menu that would not only satisfy hunger but also resonate with emotions. The dishes would symbolize her journey, a culinary autobiography of sorts. Images of her grandmother's kitchen flashed before her eyes, the steam rising from woks, the fragrant spices wafting through the air, all intoxicating memories that anchored her in a swirl of emotions. She needed to harness that energy. Emma grabbed her notebook, determined to map out her strategy before self-doubt consumed her. On one page, she began listing culinary techniques she wanted to master. On another, She detailed her family's traditional recipes that swirled within her memory. As she wrote, each item felt like a small glimmer of hope, threading her past into her future. Yet, beneath the surface of ambition, anxiety bubbled up. What right did she have to think her mixed heritage could translate into an innovative dining experience? The fear of not meeting expectations loomed large. She had witnessed countless diners react to her creations and felt the rush of pride, but what if she couldn't replicate that magic when it mattered most? Is this how artists feel before unveiling their work? She wondered aloud, her fingers tapping nervously against the table. Or is this simply fear masquerading as artistic respect? As the sun began to set, the warm glow cast a golden halo in the cafe. Emma rose, gathering her notes. Tomorrow, she would step into a local culinary workshop that focused on fusion techniques, a small yet significant leap toward her goal. It felt daring yet desperately necessary. That evening, Emma pored over every page of culinary books on fusion cuisine she could find. She highlighted techniques, made margins filled with questions, and scribbled down new ideas on how her grandmother's recipes could marry with modern trends. This determined effort left her feeling euphoric, each thought propelling her forward. As dawn broke the next morning, anticipation sunk into the depths of her being. With a cup of jasmine tea in one hand and her notebook in the other, Emma stood nervously outside the workshop venue. The world around her buzzed with excitement, a stark contrast to her spiraling fears. She took a deep breath, recalling Derek's words, "Embrace the unknown." When she finally stepped inside, the eclectic mix of aspiring chefs sparked a fire in her belly, an electric sense of belonging ignited. Surrounded by people from different backgrounds, she felt a kind of camaraderie she had longed for. Throughout the day, they brewed, sautéed, and plated their creations together. Emma found herself swept up in the collective energy, forgetting her doubts as laughter and ideas bounced back and forth. It was exhilarating in this new environment, though now and then her insecurities crept in, whispering doubts of inadequacy. Then came the moment, a challenge to present a dish incorporating one traditional element from their backgrounds with a modern twist. Emma's heart raced as she stood before her peers, an audience she had initially feared. Okay, this is it, she thought, gripping her spoon as if drawing power from it. She spoke about her grandmother's 5-spice braised pork and how it would elevate the often pedestrian pulled pork sandwich. Her voice trembled slightly, but she pushed through, embracing her roots like armor. To her surprise, when she shared not only the flavors but the story behind it, how her grandmother's love had stitched together their family through laughter and tears, her words united the room. As she finished, a wave of applause washed over her. Emma's heart soared, a voice inside her reasserted confidence. But just as she began to absorb the encouraging response, doubt unwelcomely crept back. What if the applause derived from pity rather than appreciation? Just when she thought she was riding high, a voice from the back piped up, "What's in your blood can't be ignored. Merge your cultures, not just your recipes. Do it boldly, or don't do it at all." A chill ran down her spine. As familiar unease washed over her, it crystallized a fundamental question. Was this going to be her reality? To embrace her cultural identity or merely play it safe? The workshop's jovial atmosphere faded into the background as she narrowed her focus on the rebuke buried in the compliment now echoing in her mind. Would she rise to face this new challenge, or would she let the fear of inadequacy silence the unique voice only she possessed? The answer loomed just outside her reach. Emma knew she had a choice to make, and it could alter the trajectory of her culinary journey forever. The workshop buzzed with energy, yet Emma felt suspended in a bubble of introspection. Each cheer and laugh surrounding her became muffled as she wrestled with the voice that had dared to challenge her. The room had transformed into a crucible where her nascent ideas about identity and confidence clashed violently. That night, sleep eluded her. The fabric of her grandmother's legacy wrestled with the specters of self-doubt and fear that enveloped her mind. She lay awake, each moment punctuated by thoughts of the dishes she wanted to create. What if she could blend her grandmother's five-spice braised pork not just with modern menus but with her own evolving understanding of cuisine? What if she could morph the love of her family into a dish that sang with the truth of her experience amped up by the vibrant layers of her cultural tapestry? The question flowed through her, a gentle tide against the rocky shore of her insecurities. Every day after the workshop, Emma revisited her notes, meticulously constructing a plan to approach her culinary journey with renewed vigor. Techniques she had once thought beyond her grasp, sous vide, molecular gastronomy, plating as an art form, began to look less like obstacles and more like tools in her belt for transformation. She poured hours into experimentation, her kitchen becoming a sanctuary and battlefield where she wrestled with flavor, texture, and emotion. There were dishes that failed to resonate and combinations that didn't quite land. Yet, with every misstep, she unearthed gems of wisdom. It wasn't simply about merging ingredients, it was about merging stories. Her grandmother's recipes became her foundation, but she realized she needed to infuse her own story into the mix. With each plate, Emma sought to create a sensory experience that chimed with her own evolution. Friends became her early audience, unwittingly prodding her to be bolder, more inventive. They savored her experimental dishes, laughing and critiquing her with the affection of shared history. Too much tartness, one friend would say, while another would shout, more spice. It needs a kick. Yet one comment lingered with her, a gentle reminder that struck her core. Don't be afraid to let your voice come through, Emma. Your culture is loud, let it sing. The words reverberated in her mind as she began sketching a plan for a pop-up dining event. No longer content with simply serving meals, she envisioned a space that conveyed her journey and her passion, her own voice crafted through food. It would be a night of bold, fearless fusion, where every dish would stand as a testament to her identity, melding her heritage with the culinary landscape she aspired to shape. Inviting her peers to an evening of exploration felt daunting, yet exhilarating. Each invitation sent out was both a challenge and a promise. This could be your moment, she thought, wrestling with the inevitable fear that accompanied such vulnerable exposure. What if they didn't connect with her culinary autobiography? What if they found it lacking or derivative? With each passing day, the pop-up idea grew clearer in her mind, though shadows of doubt remained. It became more than a culinary showcase, it was the merging of her worlds, a declaration of identity folded lovingly into every course. Emma could feel the spark of potential igniting in her soul. With every hour spent perfecting her dishes, slicing, dicing, translating heritage into art, an internal shift unfurled. She wasn't just recreating her grandmother's dishes, she was redefining them, allowing her voice to echo in the dishes she served. The night of the pop-up event approached, and she readied herself. Emma's heart raced, anxiety peeking through the seams of her carefully woven plans. Would she be met with genuine curiosity or critical indifference? As she stood in her kitchen on the eve of the event, she placed her hand over her heart, grounding herself amidst the whirlwind rising in her mind. This was her moment to rise and face her unspoken fears, to embrace the daring challenge that could change her trajectory forever. Yet, at the last minute, something unexpected gnawed at her. What if her identity was too complex, her story too layered for comprehension? The veiled uncertainty beckoned, and the real question settled heavily on her chest: would the dishes resonate with meaning, or were they simply food on a plate? The clock ticked, counting down to the moment she would unveil her creations. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a surge of excitement mingled with trepidation rolled through her. But one thought stood out, clear amid the fog of doubt: was she ready to own her voice and let it resonate through every dish she served? Emma stood in the small, bustling kitchen, feeling the pulse of anticipation thud in her chest like a war drum. The tables were set with care, an array of thoughtfully selected dishes that each told a piece of her story. Tonight was not just about food, it was about unveiling Emma, the chef, blending her past, her heritage, and her ambitions into every plate, forging a path instead of merely walking one. The glow from the overhead lights framed her in a golden hue as she took one final look at her carefully crafted menu. Each dish was a testament to her journey, the 5-spice braised pork fused with unexpected apple cider brine, along with the Thai Chilean-fused pulled pork sliders. This night was not born merely from ingredients, it was about heritage, love, and an unwavering commitment to authenticity. Emma could feel the weight of years spent doubting herself lift slowly as she embraced her purpose. As guests began to filter in, excitement buzzed in the air like the fizz of spring. Familiar faces mixed with newcomers, each coming in with their own sense of curiosity and eagerness to experience something unique. Through the steady rush, Emma breathed deeply, allowing the vibrant energy of the evening to buoy her spirits. The kitchen hummed as she directed her small team, becoming fluid in her movements, every chop, sizzle and stir infused with intention. And then, standing at the center of it all, she greeted her guests, feeling the thrill of connection coursing through her veins as she spoke. With each introduction, Emma found her voice strong, confident, and unapologetic. Stories flowed from her lips as effortlessly as the fragrant herbs and spices flowed into her dishes, they wrapped around her culinary creations, making each plate a narrative. The first dish was served, and it met with delightful surprise. Lively chatter filled the room, with sounds of approval reverberating off the walls. It was more than she had hoped for, each satisfied smile reflected back at her was a reassurance of her journey. As the evening unfolded, she moved through the tables, engaging with her guests, their laughter reminding her that her food spoke in volumes about who she was and who she had become. In their eyes, she saw acceptance, and she realized she was no longer just a girl who worked in a diner, she was Emma, a chef, an artist, painting flavors across plates and emotions across faces. Then came the moment that crystallized her achievement. As they tasted her signature dish, she observed Mr. Thompson at the back, surprised and contemplative. The familiar scorn in his eyes had shifted into something akin to respect. If he could see her capacity for innovation, maybe the world could too. After the last plate had been devoured and the last conversation flowed into memories of laughter, she stood before them once more, her heart beating fiercely. Thank you all for joining this journey with me. This is not just cooking, it's a bridge connecting my past and future, my family's legacy and my dreams. The applause resonated through the room like a symphony, crashing waves upon her shores, a definitive acceptance of her voice. As they celebrated, Emma felt a profound satisfaction swell within her. The fear that had gripped her so tightly had transformed into undeniable confidence. She had not only conjured a successful dining event, she had crafted a moment of pure connection, one where her culinary heart tapped into the hungry souls eager to explore something new. With newfound clarity, Emma stood firmly on the precipice of opportunity, her culinary ambition unfurling like the rising sun. She envisioned her restaurant in the making, where dishes wouldn't just fill bellies but create a tapestry of narratives waiting to be shared. This wasn't merely personal triumph, this was her declaration. The future was vast and promising, and she had finally stepped forward as the architect of her destiny. Every challenge conquered was another layer added to her journey, and with that, deep fulfillment anchored her in the present. Emma was ready to embrace whatever came next, not with fear but with the readiness to forge ahead. Now, it was time to spread the word about her journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support content that inspires others. Comment your reactions and theories about Emma's journey and the flavors she created. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and feel the empowerment of transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.